I'm Ryan Marino, and I'm going to be talking about the evolution of the African elephants. I'm going to begin by going over the elephant's taxonomy. So, they belong to the kingdom of Animalia, the phylum of Chordata, the class of Mammalia, the order of Proboscidea, the family of Elephantidae, and then finally the genus and species of Loxodonta africana, which is also the scientific name for the African elephants. The African elephants are found mostly in the sub-Saharan parts of Africa, which are depicted by the dark green parts of the map. So this consists of mostly dense forests, woodlands, but they are also found in some of the deserts throughout Africa as well. So just a few more important things to note about the African elephants. So they are herbivores, which means that their diet mostly consists of just grass, leaves, fruits, and they can also get bark from trees. They are the largest of all land mammals, and their lifespan can reach up to 70 years. And another important thing is their tusks. So they possess two tusks in the present day today. This is important because it was not always the case. As you'll see, at one point they had four tusks. These tusks were not also pointed in the same direction. At one point they were pointed downwards because they were used for different tasks as they currently are used. So elephants of today, they use these tusks not only to attack prey and to defend from predators, but also to protect their large trunks. The closest ancestor to the modern African elephants is the Deinotherium. They were just a large prehistoric relative, and they appeared in the middle Miocene era, and they survived till about the early Pleistocene era. They were alive around 1 million years ago, and they existed throughout Africa. They belong to the kingdom of Animalia, the phylum of Chordata, the class of Mammalia, the order of Proboscidea, the family of Deinotheridae, the genus of Deinotherium. What was so special about this creature was that it had tusks, but these tusks were pointed downwards. And the main reason for this was for them to root them into the soil for underground plants, so they would be able to get to the roots and the tubers of plants by digging them up with their tusks. They were also able to pull down branches in order to snap them if there were leaves that were higher up. And then finally, they were able to use them to strip off soft bark from trees. The main difference between the Deinotherium and our present-day elephants is the difference in the ways that their tusks point. The Deinotherium's tusks pointed downward, whereas our modern-day elephants, theirs are pointed upwards. The reason for this is because of adaptation. So the elephants are now able to complete the same tasks as if their tusks were pointed downwards by tilting their head farther down, but they are now also able to use their tusks as a defense mechanism, and also in case they have to attack any other animals. As you move farther down the elephant timeline, you reach the Gomphotherium. They existed for about 10 million years, from 13.6 million years ago to just around 30.6 million years ago. They belong to the kingdom of Animalia, the phylum of Chordata, the class of Mammalia, the order of Proboscidea, the family of Gomphotheridae, and then finally the genus of Gomphotherium. The Gomphotherium was about 3 meters tall and weighed between 4 and 5 tons. It looked very similar to the modern-day elephant. However, it had one very unique difference. Instead of 2 tusks, it had 4, 2 on the upper jaw and 2 on the lower jaw, which was elongated. The lower tusks were parallel, and they were shaped like a shovel, so that means that they were probably used for digging up food that could have been stuck in mud. The only difference between the Gomphotherium's upper tusks and the modern elephant's upper tusks was that the Gomphotheriums actually had a layer of enamel on the tusks, whereas the elephants that we have today do not have this layer. Finally, compared to the modern elephants that we have today, the skulls of these animals were much more long and low. This indicated that the animal also had a shorter trunk than the modern elephants that we have today. This could be due to the fact that these animals live near swamps and lakes, so they were able to use their tusks to dig and scrape up aquatic vegetation. Many of these traits that the Gomphotherium possessed are not seen in today's modern elephants because of adaptation. Elephants today do not live in swampy regions, so they would not need a lower set of tusks in order to dig up through aquatic vegetation. The use of biogeography also helps to explain why modern elephants do not have the elongated jaw that the Gomphotherium possessed as well. Moving farther away from the elephants, we reach its ancestor called the Amebelodon. The Amebelodon existed until about 6 million years ago. It had first appeared in the Great Plains and Gulf Coast regions of North America during the late Miocene period, and became extinct on this continent around 6 million years ago. The Amebelodon belongs to the kingdom of Animalia, the phylum of Chordata, the class of Mammalia, the order of Bobosidia, the family of Amebelodontae, and then finally the genus of Amebelodon. The Amebelodon possessed the similar 4 tusks that the Gomphotherium possessed. However, its bottom set was slightly different. Its bottom tusks were very flat, and they was used to uproot plants and also to scrape off tree bark. So it is also believed that these lower tusks are actually adaptations that were created in order to help them feed properly. However, due to similar reasons as previously stated, the modern elephants of today do not have this bottom set of tusks for the similar reasons of biogeography and adaptation, because they can be just as effective with their upper set and they no longer need to uproot plants with the bottom set of tusks, because they can do this with their more advanced set of upper tusks, which are angled differently than this ancestor. The next ancestor is the Tetralophodon. It existed about 10.9 million years ago. It was about 3 meters tall to its shoulder and weighed about 10 tons. The Tetralophodon belongs to the kingdom of Animalia, the phylum of Chordata, the class of Mammalia, the order of Proboscidea, the family of Anasazidae, and then finally the genus of Tetralophodon. What makes the Tetralophodon unique is its incisors. They range up to 2 meters long. Incisors are a narrow-edged tooth at the front of the mouth, and they're adapted for cutting. It is believed that these species use them as a defense mechanism. This is an image of what a single tooth would look like inside this creature. It is about the size of 6 human teeth. These teeth were adapted for crushing and grinding, and compared to many of the other mammals during this era, they were very sharp and they were used for cutting as well. While elephants today do still have larger teeth than humans, they are not quite the size of the Tetralophodon's teeth. This can be attributed to adaptation because the diet of the Tetralophodon is much more complex than that of the modern day elephant, so they would need larger teeth to break down their food. The farthest back ancestor would be the Palemastodon, which fossils of it have been found in Africa, suggesting that it lived about 35 to 36 million years ago. Similarly to some of the previous ancestors I've mentioned, this ancestor had tusks both on the upper and lower jaws, and it also had a trunk. The Palemastodon was about 2.2 meters tall and weighed about 2.5 tons, which made it very unique compared to the other ancestors. As you can see, it is much smaller than all of them. Its features, such as the lower tusks that were flat, are no longer present in the modern day elephants because of biogeography, because the elephants today do not need these lower tusks that were used to scoop up plants from swampy waters, because they don't live in these swampy regions anymore. Finally, this creature belonged to the kingdom of Animalia, the phylum of Chordata, the class of Mammalia, the order of Proboscidea, the family of Palemastodontae, and then finally the genus of Palemastodon. By gaining an understanding of each of these ancestors, it is easy to see what led to the modern elephants that we have today. The modern elephants that we see today are due to the many times that speciation occurred, which was just the formation of new and distinct species through the course of evolution.